Angus, first of all, what do you think about the Spanish chances? I mean, they're up there in the betting as one of the favourites, if not the favourites, at 3-1. Do you go along with that?
I do. I'm excited by Torres. I mean, Torres is going to be the key to me. If we get Torres firing for Spain, then he's got the ammunition to be provided with. I'll be amazed if he doesn't start, and I'll be amazed if he doesn't have a big tournament. And I think that if he does have a big tournament, then Spain are going to be right up there and going to be hard to beat. Obviously, Villa was a big blow to him because they seem to have a good relationship together. And I mean, he was, scoring some crucial goals, and his injection of pace, whereas Torres was sometimes coming from slightly off the pace, were significant. But you just look at the squad they've got, and it's still packed with class players.
The thing that seems to be going against them, Ren, and the recurring theme when you talk about Spain seems to be they've had a long, hard season. Mm-hmm. Maybe some of their great players from Barcelona are past their peak. They're tired. They're missing two of their most influential players, and it's very, very difficult to defend your title, if impossible. Are they able to do that with all those factors against them?
I think it's not a long shot by making them second favourites. I think
behind Germany.
I think they're slightly past their best as a team. I mean, they were outstanding in 08 and 10. It was a bit different because they lost the first game in Switzerland. Then it was 1-0 all the way. But I think they're not playing at that same level now. I mean, they won their qualifying group so easily, but they've lost a few friendlies. And Villa's a huge miss, I think, up front. Torres. Yeah, I mean, Angus says he could be on fire. He could be great when he gets going. I mean, I don't think he'll even start the first game. I think they'll go with Llorente. I think Torres has been so hot and cold for 18 months. You can't rely on him. And those, brilliant Barcelona midfielders, I think they're not quite as good as they were. And there's fitness issues.
Yeah, people forget that they actually did lose a game in the World Cup. In fact, I do love a quiz question. I'm going to throw this one at you. Who's the only team not to lose a game in the World Cup in 2010?
Well, it's an interesting one, Ian, and it's
a
surprising answer.
It's
a surprising answer. It's one. It's a country more famous for its rugby than its football.
Well done. It is New Zealand. Right, Neil. Just before we go to our Spanish expert in Madrid, what are your feelings about the Spanish? Have they peaked? Have they passed their best?
I think they've peaked. Definitely. I think I'd be very surprised if they can win 3 tournaments on the trot, like 2 Euros and a World Cup. Again, I'm with Angus. I think it could be a release for Torres just to get out there, to play with his fellow countrymen and just play with the freedom and expression that he hasn't been allowed, or he hasn't played for Chelsea in the last 18 months. And it might be the tournament that kick-starts him again, because he is too good a player to be playing as badly as what he is at the moment, with no sort of, his head's always down, he's not smiling as much like he was at Liverpool. And it could be just an absolute release for him that he's there with his fellow countrymen for 2 weeks. If he is given the nod in the first game, that could be just the sort of confidence boost that he needs.
Okay. Are you good at Trivial Pursuit, by the way? Do you ever lose?
I'll have to find out, maybe.
I'm not a wager on that one coming up, isn't it?
I'll stick to Scrabble. Right, let's bring in our Spanish expert. Tim Stannard joins us now from Madrid. He's a Spanish football blogger for 442. Welcome to the programme. Have you been listening to what the boys have saying? Is it your opinion? Is it the opinion of the pundits and the media and the public in Spain that this Spanish team might be past its best?
It's very much an unknown quantity. I think you're looking at Spain version 3 now, if you take the Spain from 2008 and how it progressed to 2010. I think what you're going to see in this latest tournament in Euro 2012 is maybe some of the players who 2 years ago are now, well, they're now household names and they were bit part players before, really sort of carrying them through. I think, yes, certainly there is some of the Barcelona players we're missing, obviously Villa and Puyol, and Iniesta looks a little bit tired, and certainly Xavi Hernandez and Xabi Alonso's got a lot of games in his legs, as well as Busquets. However, there's a lot of fresh faces in there who really want to prove themselves. We're looking at players like Santi Cazorla, who I think is going to be one of the outstanding talents. I think we're going to see him in midfield. He's from Malaga and a fantastic playmaker. Players we've spoken about like Llorente, they've had a couple of weeks rest now from the season. Jesus Navas of Sevilla, and of course Juan Mata and David Silva, and I don't think they're going to be too tired. I think David Silva had a very tough World Cup. He was blamed unfairly perhaps for the defeat against Switzerland in the opening game and didn't see much. So these are players who've won the World Cup, but I think they actually want to win a tournament for themselves and make a name for themselves. So at first I was very similar, thinking, well, they might be past their best, but there's some fantastic players coming through. So this might be a new look at Spain. You have to look at the positives, although some of the big names are going to be missing. They're going to be a lot less predictable now. We don't actually know what their starting 11 is going to be against Italy, and that can be an advantage for them.
What about the starting berth up front? Is it going to be Torres? Is it going to be Llorente? Could it be both?
I think it's going to be one of them. I think it is going to be Fernando Torres. He just looks in a header game against South Korea. He scored a goal. Just a different player, and he's talked about how he feels a different player. I think a lot of his problems were psychological. A huge weight was lifted off his shoulders by being included in the Spain squad. He was saying he didn't feel that was going to be something that was happening because of his Chelsea form. And he looked bright, he looked lively, he just looked like he was playing with someone who was extremely happy and starting to find his form again. And if you want someone who's fresh and hungry, then Fernando Torres is. And you have to remember, in Spain, they've got a very different attitude towards him. He's a well-liked, well-respected player who helped kick Spain off in this fantastic journey 4 years ago with that winning goal. So Del Bosque sticks with players he knows, sticks with players he likes, fit the pattern, follow instructions, and that is Fernando Torres. So I think he's going to start against Italy.
What about Fabregas? You mentioned that some of the other star midfielders maybe look a little jaded. Does this give Fabregas his chance to start?
This is one of the players who you sometimes forget because he had a quiet season against Barcelona, didn't play as much as he wanted. He's carrying a few muscle injuries at the moment. He's going to be fit for the weekend, but I think he's going to be one of those players on the bench, one of those fantastic players. So we're going to see Cesc on the bench, maybe Fernando Llorente, maybe Navas, maybe Cazorla. You might even see Juan Mata or David Silva on the bench as well, depending on the formation they're going to play. And any team that has this international class caliber of players on the bench must be a favourite.
What are the Spanish saying about their group opponents? The Italians, we've heard, are very pessimistic about their chances. The Irish seem to be very upbeat. The Croatians, we don't really know what they think, but they haven't been in good form.
No, I don't think they think the group's going to be too bad. It's a very different attitude with Spain this year. It's quite a low-key build-up. The country is to be fair, at the moment, more preoccupied with economic situations, and there was a death of the Villarreal coach today who's taken the European Championships off their headlines, and quite rightly, a very tragic death overnight. So Spain have not really moved into gear yet. I think there's also a case of they've won the World Cup, they've won the European Championships. This is a nice-to-have tournament rather than a must-win, which it must be for countries like Germany and Holland, who may think that they've got a golden generation. Spain have proved themselves completely, so winning it would be nice, but it's not all important for them. So the feeling in Spain is, at the moment, quite low-key, and this might change as the tournament builds up. The people can be slow starters here, but there isn't the same buzz as there was in South Africa.
How do they view, say, Ireland's chances, first of all, and also England's? Do they talk about England much?
They follow the news. They follow the fact that people they tend to follow what people in the other country think. They have their reporters there, so rather than following the actual players themselves, of course there's injury news, etc., they'll be looking at what the mood is in the camp, and they respect every single opponent. And Spain are still, despite being world champions, despite being European champions, they're still a very insecure country when it comes to things like that. So they will be looking at every game as a difficult one. Against Italy, they have a very poor record. I think their last victory in international competition over 90 minutes, believe it or not, was some 90 years ago. These games tend to be draws or penalty shootouts, or they lose. So they'll be happy to pick up a point on Sunday, but they'll be fairly confident about beating Ireland and Croatia as well. And after that, we'll see. But as I said, the build-up in Spain just isn't really that big at the moment. Maybe once the tournament starts, it might do, but it's yet to get going here.
Okay, I want to ask you about the leaders as well. With Puyol not there, who are the natural-born leaders in that side who are going to drag them through games when they're not playing well?
Well, there's one player who I think has been fantastic, and he's been playing for Real Madrid this season, and that's Sergio Ramos. He moved into the centre of defence on the right-back position when Carvalho got injured towards the beginning of the season, and he formed a fantastic partnership with Pepe. We're seeing Ramos as the player we all knew he could be, physical but focused as well, quick, powerful, and a fantastic leader. So I think he's one of those that just will not get tired. I have a feeling Ramos is going to be very much the key player for Spain this season in that back four alongside Piqué. Piqué's not been in great form either this season, but Ramos has been outstanding. If anyone can really shine, I think it's him.
Okay, just a final point before you go, because we're going to move on and talk about Portugal now. Obviously, with the close proximity to Portugal where you are, do people see Portugal in any way as a threat for this tournament or not?
Well, yeah, I think they're like everyone else. They're looking, apart from maybe up front, where Portugal have always had a problem about the last 15, 20 years. They still have Postiga playing there, who's had a season for Zaragoza. Again, they'll look at the individuals. They'll look at some of the Spanish-based players, like you have Ronaldo, you have Pepe, you have Coentrao, and obviously you have players like Nani. And individually, they can get it together. But probably the same perception of Portugal as they do in England. It's like, can they get it together as a team? And again, they're looking at countries like France and asking the same questions. Can they? They may have players like Nasri and Benzema, but can they put it together as an 11? And we'll wait and see. So again, same situation. Great players, but what's the collective like?
Exactly. Tim, many thanks. We'll speak to you again during the tournament. Good luck.
My pleasure, thank you.
That's Tim Stannard from 442.
Stay ahead of the game with Sports Tonight Live. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search for Sports Tonight Live on Facebook and like our fan page. Follow Sports Tonight TV on Twitter and tweet us your thoughts and opinions. Sports Tonight Live, it's the platform for the fans.